Okay, speaking in parampara, important. Okay, what else? Right. Yes, if you don't repeat in parampara, then non-bona fide things may become bona fide. Okay, what else? Hmm.
The person who is having Isha Bhavana.
Hmm.
We were discussing about Isha Bhavana means considering ourselves as controller, enjoyer, and proprietor.
Hmm. Ishamanina. Hmm. Correct. Hmm.
Because Indra, because in this context that because Indra that material attachment, and in that context we're discussing about material attachment and sense gratification. How this increases the insecurity
Hmm.
because there is attachment to post, position, followers. There's envy in the heart, so this increases insecurity, and therefore person is very much in anxiety.
Correct. Good. Okay, so Indra's insecurities. As a result of that, he killed Vishwarup because of that insecurity. Then?
In that killing, what was wrong we were discussing. So Brahma, he has already warned him that tolerate it,
Hmm.
but he did not follow the instructions. So
Hmm.
first of all, he couldn't respect Brihaspati.
Hmm.
Then he did not follow instruction of Brahma,
Hmm.
and then he killed a Brahmana.
Right. So therefore he had to face sinful reactions. And for the sinful reactions, what he did?
He divided.
He repented for 1 year and then
Share to
and distributed to
earth, water, land, and trees.
women. Okay. Or kuch?
You're discussing that in spiritual world there is no duality. So even externally there might be that it may seem as suffering, but that is separation from Krishna is also in one sense increases the transcendental bliss. So there is
Right.
no suffering at all in spiritual world.
Right. Okay, good.
In one point, we were discussing that Vaishnava philosophy is Sakti Parinambad, whereas Mayavad is Vivartavad. They consider that Brahman itself gets transformed, but Vaishnava philosophy, we consider Krishna's energies are transformed, and in this way, materialized.
Right. Okay, good. Okay, so we discussed that. Cultural, Srimad Bhagavatam is cultural presentation for re-spiritualization of the entire human society. That was initial discussion about importance of culture and etiquettes. Okay, fine. So then Tvashta performed the yajna, and because of small mistake, Vritrasura was born. And Vritrasura's description, huge personality, and he was swallowing all the weapons of Devatas. So Devatas began to offer prayers, the Lord appeared, and then they're glorifying the Lord in these various prayers. Okay, so that's the context where we are at. So now we'll go ahead with text 42. So continuing with the Devatas prayers. O Lord, as the small sparks of a fire cannot possibly perform the actions of the whole fire, we sparks of your Lordship cannot inform you of the necessities of our lives. You're the complete whole. Therefore, of what do we need to inform you? You know everything. Because you're the original cause of the cosmic manifestation, maintainer, and later of the entire universal creation. You always engage in your pastimes with your spiritual and material energies, for you are the controller of all these varied energies. You exist within all living entities, within the cosmic manifestation, and also beyond them. You exist internally as Parabrahman, externally as the ingredients of the material creation. Therefore, although manifested in various stages at different times and places and in various bodies, you, the personality of Godhead, are the original cause of all causes. Indeed, you are the original element. You are the witness of all activities. But because you are as great as the sky, you are never touched by any of them. You are the witness of everything as Parabrahman and Paramatma. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, nothing is unknown to you. So they're saying that what do we need to inform you? You know everything. So you know our desires, you know what we want, you know everything. So what is there to be told? You know, nothing is unknown. So indirectly they're saying, you please help us, you know what we want. So Prabhupada is speaking about Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. And then he says, a pure devotee is aware that since nothing is unknown to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he need not be informed of a devotee's conveniences and inconveniences. A pure devotee knows that there is no need to ask the absolute truth for any material necessities. Therefore, while informing the Supreme Lord about their distress in being attacked by Vritrasur, the demigods apologized for offering prayers for their safety. A neophyte devotee, of course, approaches Supreme Lord for relief from distress, poverty, speculative knowledge. So 4 kinds of people. A pure devotee, however, knows that since the Lord is omnipresent and omniscient, there is no need to offer prayers or worship him for one's personal benefit. A pure devotee always engages in the service of the Lord without demanding anything. The Lord is present everywhere and knows the necessities of his devotees. Consequently, there is no need to disturb him by asking him for material benefits. So here Srila Prabhupada is expanding on that same point, that how the Supreme Lord, he knows everything. So there's no need to inform him about anything. And there's no need to ask the Lord for anything. And so therefore, in the prayers of Prithu Maharaj to Lord Narayan, this comes in the 4th canto, which chapter? 20th chapter. So at the end of those prayers, Prithu Maharaj says, my dear Lord, you are like a father. I am like your son. So you know everything, whatever is good for me. So therefore, without my asking, you do whatever you think is appropriate. So that was Prithu Maharaj's prayer. And so therefore, the Lord knows everything, and whatever is best, the Lord does for the devotee. So therefore, he need not be informed of a devotee's conveniences and inconveniences. So therefore, we find that some devotees don't ask the Lord for anything. When Ambarish Maharaj was attacked by the demon created by Durvas Muni, did he ask for protection? No, he didn't even ask for protection. Did Prahlad ask for protection? No, he didn't ask for protection. But same time we find that Draupadi asked for protection. Uttana asked for protection. And there are so many prayers within the Bhagavatam where devotees are asking for some things, even pure devotees, totally purified devotees. And here Srila Prabhupada says that there is no need to offer prayers. But we find Bhagavatam is full of prayers. So what is correct? What to do? We should ask or not ask? We should pray or not pray? Or what we should do? Huh? Okay, only in emergencies they're asking. So how do you define emergency? So what do you mean by emergency? Hmm? Okay, life-threatening situations. Yes. Okay. Oh, you can put that if you so desire anywhere you can put. If you so desire, please give me a car. That you can put anywhere, no? Hmm. Okay, anyway, since you brought up the example, so we must know more things more precisely. So this happened in 1967. In 67, as we know, when Srila Prabhupada was in New York, so one day he was feeling great inconvenience, and then basically he got a stroke. Hmm. So half of his body appeared to be paralyzed, and devotees were massaging and all that. And that. So anyway, that's a detailed pastime that's there in the Leelamrit. So at that time, that was the time when Srila Prabhupada taught the devotees the Narasimha prayers. That is how the Narasimha prayers were introduced within ISKCON. That was the time when Srila Prabhupada taught. And then the devotees asked Srila Prabhupada whether we can pray for your health. Prabhupada didn't tell them. Devotees asked. So when devotees asked, then Srila Prabhupada said, okay, you can pray to the Lord, my dear Lord, if you so desire, let our spiritual master have good health, because his mission has not yet been completed. So that's the precise pastime. So in any case, okay. So okay, just to add to that. So then, in 76 or 77, and I'm not remembering exactly when. 76 or 77. Anyway, sometime during those final pastimes. So then again, when Srila Prabhupada was very sick, at that time, again devotees asked. In fact, they reminded him. They told Srila Prabhupada, at that time in 67, we had prayed for your health. So can we pray like that now also? And Srila Prabhupada said, no need. There is no need. Whatever the Lord wants, he would do. He didn't accept. Okay, so in any case, to continue the discussion, so what should we do? Yes, that's a precise point. Yes, here it specifically said there is no need to offer prayers or worship him for one's personal benefits, not for one's personal benefit. So Srila Prabhupada also, he agreed because devotees asked, so therefore he made it very clear, it was not for personal benefit, it was for what? Mission, his Guru Maharaj's mission. That was the main reason. So he was very clear, it was not for, and therefore later on, when the mission was sort of accomplished, then Srila Prabhupada said, no need to offer. So therefore, then in the Bhagavatam, what do we find? All these prayers. So in all the prayers which we find in the Bhagavatam, yes, mainly it's all glorification. And just like Prahlad Maharaj's prayers, so most of it is glorification. Did he ask anything for personal benefit? No. In fact, the Lord asked him, ask something for yourself. Of course, he said, if at all you want to give, then free me from all material desires. Of course, that's also for the service. So as far as the, okay, then somebody may say, what about Draupadi and Uttara?
Which is mentioned in Nectar of Devotion. So that is within the scope of pure devotion.
So specifically, within the definition of pure devotional service, what indicates this point? Ita, Anya Avilash Ita, the suffix. The suffix indicates what? The motive. The suffix indicates the motive behind asking for something. So even if a devotee is asking for something in life-threatening situations, acharyas make it very clear that a devotee, even if he wants to ask something, it is only in life-threatening situations. That point is very clear. And it is only very occasional, not every day. Every day one can imagine some life-threatening situation. So it's only occasional, sudden, fleeting. The word that the acharyas use is fleeting situation, fleeting. All of a sudden, sometimes, fleeting situations. So only in those cases, with the right motive, not for some personal gain, then that type of prayer is allowed. So Uttara was praying. What was her main motive? Yes, the main motive was to protect the only child of the Kuru dynasty, to continue the dynasty. So that was a very special situation. So otherwise, in most cases, a devotee just depends on the Lord and does not offer prayers for personal benefits. No prayers. Because the devotee depends on the Lord. So, as Prabhupada is saying, there is no need to inform the Lord of personal conveniences and inconveniences and pray for getting relief from those personal inconveniences. So we have faith that the Lord knows everything. Verse from Bhagavad Gita. Vedam samatidani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu vedana kashana. Lord knows everything, past, present and future. So therefore, no need to inform him. Therefore, the devotee simply depends on the Lord. And so the main purpose of the prayers is to glorify him and to express one's humility. So Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu speaks of 3 types of prayers. What are they? Bolo. Samprathanatmika, Dainya Bodhika, Lalsamayi. So Samprathanatmika means what? Yes, Samprathanatmika prayers are basically praying for devotional service. The example is given of Rupa Goswami is giving example. Just like a young boy and a girl have attraction for each other, please let my attraction also develop towards you. So this is an example of samprathanatmika. So just like Mother Kunti is praying, what she's praying? Similar prayer. हाँ बोलो बोलो माइक के सामने.
त्वयि में अनन्य विषया मतिर मधुपते सकृत रतिम उद्वहतम अद्धा गंगे वोघमुदन.
Good. Tell the translation.
That may I develop uninterrupted attraction towards you, just like Ganges flows even when there are
towards the ocean. Yes. So this is an example of samprathanatmika, praying for developing devotion, attraction towards the Lord. So this is example of sampratana. Dainya bodhika is expressing one's humility. Of course, in that same connection, Queen Kunti is also asking to cut off the tie of affection towards, yes, the Vrishnis and the Pandavas. So that's also in the same, I think so it follows that, right? That's the next verse after that. So, these are, so Dainya Bodhika prayer, some example? Amar Jivan Sada Paperata Nahiko Punyera Lesha. So a devotee expresses his humility. So we were saying in Prahlad Maharaj's prayers today also, and so many prayers, right from the beginning, 8th verse itself, of the 7th canto, 9th chapter, 8th verse. Ugrajati. Prahlad Maharaj is saying, who am I? I'm born in demoniac family. Ugrajati. So what prayers can I? So these are prayers expressing one's humility, inability. Of course, again, Markine Bhagavad Dharma, Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti nahi, Veda nahi, Nama Khubda. So these are Dainya Bodhika. And Lalsamai, of course. Lalsamai is what? Desiring? Yes, a specific service, desiring a specific service to the Lord. But those type of Lalsamai prayers can only be offered at what stage? Yes, on the Raga stage. They can only be offered on the Raganuga platform or Bhava platform. Not at Sadhaka platform. I want to become Gopa, Gopi, please. No. This is only after one has reached the liberated platform, one has realized one's Swarupa, then one can offer such prayers, Lalsamai. Okay, so these are the situations when we can offer prayers. So therefore, we should not unnecessarily offer prayers as pure devotees following bona fide parampara. We need to follow these. This is the standard. This is the standard for offering prayers. And so we should, and if you want to offer prayers, Srila Prabhupada speaks both in his lectures and his purports. Actually, who can offer prayers and glorify the Lord? Of course, everyone is pure devotee. But specifically, only one who's on the liberated platform. Only one who's on the liberated platform can actually offer prayers, glorify the Lord, and do so in a way that's pleasing to the Lord. And therefore, as sadhakas, we can offer prayers, but either they should be Shastric prayers, we simply repeat Shastric prayers, the prayers offered by such exalted liberated personalities, we simply can repeat them, Or even if we offer personal prayers, they should be, yes, aligned with those prayers. So we should not concoct something and just put, if you so desire. No. So we have to see that it's in line with the prayers of the previous acharyas and the shastras. That is the standard. Okay? So a pure devotee always engages in the service of the Lord without demanding anything. Doesn't demand anything. So even when Srila Prabhupada went through 2 heart attacks, seasickness, so many difficulties, throughout that whole journey, do we ever find Srila Prabhupada praying, please let my health improve, I want to serve you? And that was severe health crisis, not ordinary. Literally at the point of death. But still he doesn't ask. And even when he gets off at the New York harbor, does he rush to the hospital to find a doctor? He doesn't do. Of course, we cannot totally imitate. We have to do the needful, whatever is essential. But still, the point is we can see the dependence on the Lord. So this is the meaning of devotee. Not for every small thing, praying, please relieve me of this pain, this anxiety, that anxiety. No. Devotee doesn't unnecessarily pray like that. So, doesn't demand anything. All right? Any clarifications on this point?
The very beginning, the point was made that not for personal benefit. So when we pray for others, so then what should be the standard?
Okay, so should we pray for other sick devotees? So, of course, since a devotee is using his body in the Lord's service, so if we pray for other devotees' good health so that they can properly engage in the Lord's service, not so wrong. Because a devotee has concern for other devotees' spiritual life, and the body is an instrument to be used in Krishna's service. So we can pray. At the same time, we know that ultimately whatever Krishna does is for the best benefit of the devotee. That should be our faith. Our faith is whatever Krishna does is perfect. Can the Lord do any mistakes? Possible? The devotee became sick because the Lord forgot something, so therefore he became sick. Possible? What do you think? बोलिए. So we can pray, but at the same time, we have faith that whatever Krishna does is best for the devotee. So therefore, in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, first canto, third chapter, 36th verse, if I'm not mistaken, Sutta Goswami is addressing the Lord as Amoga Leela. So what's the meaning of Amoga Leela? Yes, spotless. Whose activities are spotless. There's no flaw in the Lord's activities. And in the purport Srila Prabhupada writes, there is nothing lamentable in the Lord's creation. Nothing lamentable. That means it's all perfect. So we may think, oh, why this is happening? Why these devotees are becoming sick, those devotees are being killed, they're dying, and so many things are happening. So of course, we definitely feel compassion, it's not that we become hard-hearted. We definitely feel compassion and definitely we can try to help in whatever way possible. That is definitely what we should be doing. But at the same time, we have to know that Krishna has a perfect plan for everyone. That faith we need to have. So otherwise, if we don't have that faith, then either we get into the blame game, or one can become frustrated, or one can leave, thinking that this Krishna consciousness does not work. So the faith has to be there. ठीक है ना?
Another thing you said that one can offer prayer only on the liberated platform. So then you made another point that therefore we should repeat the prayers which are offered by any acharya in line and from the Shastra, or even if you offer personal prayer, it should be in line with the Shastra.
Correct.
So, so two questions are there. Like every day we sing Tulsi Aarti. So that time when the prayers are there, can we then meditate on the meaning of the prayers?
Definitely.
And
we should be doing that.
Yeah.
Every devotee should be doing that. The problem is we tend to just recite them mechanically. That's the problem. So the main purpose of those prayers is to understand the meaning and meditate on the meaning. That's what we should be doing.
And sometimes even though prayers are there in the Shastra or sung by acharyas, but sometimes some prayers are very intimate exchanges. So those prayers also we can recite.
So we have to know, of course, we can always recite. We can always recite the prayers for our own purification. No problem. But then at the same time, as we said, some prayers can be only offered on a very elevated platform, like Lal Samayi prayers. So they can be offered only on very elevated platform. So then according to our adhikar, so we can offer prayers. See? Anything else? Okay. Anyway, just reminded me of another statement which we do quote quite often from the purport to the invocation of the Ishopanishad. A very striking statement. Anybody remembers? Yes. All forms of incompleteness are due to incomplete knowledge of the complete whole. So if we are experiencing some incompleteness, something incomplete in this creation, why is the war happening? Why is the earthquake happening? Why are so many people dying? There's something incomplete, something wrong in the creation. How can there be anything wrong in the creation? So if I'm perceiving something as incomplete or wrong, it is only due to what? It is our incomplete knowledge of the complete whole. Therefore, we are experiencing some incompleteness. From Krishna's viewpoint, everything is perfect. I may not be able to understand why something is happening in my life or somebody else's life. But our perception is so limited. How much do we know? How much do we know of our own life, and what to speak of others' lives? Few limited years, which is just an insignificant flash in eternity. Only that much we understand. But the Lord is saying unlimited lifetimes. And He knows how to reciprocate. So therefore, sometimes apparently it may appear as if some injustice is happening. Correct? So on a practical level, we need to do whatever is essential. That is there. But at the same time, we do find that things go beyond our control, then we have to accept that this is the plan of the Lord. Why? Cannot understand. But things are happening based upon our lives which are extending since time immemorial. How much do we know? Very insignificant. So therefore, whatever is required we may have to do. But sometimes, just like Karna was protesting when Krishna told Arjuna to kill him when the chariot wheel was stuck. So Karna was saying, hey, what is this? This is injustice. This is adharma. How can you kill someone? How can a Kshatriya kill another Kshatriya when he's helpless? So what did Krishna say? So then Krishna had to remind him, oh, now you're speaking about dharma. What happened to dharma that time? So therefore, apparently something may appear to be injustice, but then we may not remember what we have done few lives back. Therefore, when things go beyond our control, we have to accept. Atma kritam vipakam. This is my own past misdeeds. I've only created this karma and I'm simply getting it back. That's all. So therefore, it's very important that one learns to tolerate and understand this philosophy. All this is very important because practically we see in every devotee's life some crisis, some difficulties do come. Correct? Anybody has been spared? If somebody has so therefore, when those disasters come, then all this helps, all this discussion and understanding, if we are, by Krishna's grace, if it comes to our remembrance at that time, then it'll help. Then we won't be too much into frustration, depression, blame game, and all that. Then one will be more sober, dhira. Then with a sober mind and with patience, one can be able to tolerate and still continue on with devotional service, because that's the only solution to all the various problems. There is no other solution. All right. Okay, let's proceed. Okay, 43, please read.
Lord, you are omniscient and therefore you know very well why we have taken shelter at your lotus feet, which provides shade that gives relief from all material disturbances. Since you are the supreme spiritual master and you know everything, we have sought shelter of your lotus feet for instruction. Please give us relief from by counteracting our present distress. Your lotus feet are the only will be subdued. Just as when one comes under the shadow of a big tree, the disturbances caused by the heat of the scorching sun are immediately mitigated without one's asking for relief. Therefore, the whole concern of the conditioned soul should be the lotus feet of the Lord. The conditioned soul suffering from various tribulations because of existing in this material world can be relieved only when he seeks shelter at the Lord's lotus feet.
So therefore, the devatas, they're praying, yes, you are omniscient, you know everything, you are Paramaguru, the supreme spiritual master. So therefore, we are seeking shelter. Tava charana shatapalashat. So they're seeking shelter of the Lord's lotus feet, which are like shatapalashat, lotus flower with hundreds of petals. They're seeking shelter, chayam. They're seeking the shade of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So then one can be saved from samsara parishrama upashamanim. So they're seeking shelters as to get relief. So the Lord is manifested in front of them, and they're saying, please give us relief by counteracting our present distress. The only thing they're interested in what? Present distress. So at other places, Srila Prabhupada, he compares this to what? He gives nice analogy or story. Huh? Yes. Changing the burden from the head to the shoulder, or from one shoulder to the other shoulder. Our Prabhupada told the story of the old lady who was carrying a bundle of sticks on the head, and then the bundle of sticks fell down, and she called to the Lord for help. The Lord came, and then she said, my dear Lord, please help me to lift this bundle of sticks. So one is only interested in prayas, not shreyas. So such a limited vision. So the Lord has appeared. They could have asked, get us out of this material world. Then no more demons. They could have asked that, but they don't ask. Please relieve us of this. This demon is troubling. Just relieve us of this demon. So therefore, even when one has the topmost Krishna consciousness, the Lord is there right in front of us, still, if one has material attachments, then one gets so narrow-minded and one is only thinking about one's immediate benefits. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada is writing, the only concern for the devotee is to take shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. That should be our only concern. How to increase that taking shelter. Then As far as material tribulations are concerned, they will automatically be subdued. The first symptom of pure devotional service is kleshagni. So then what does it mean? What does kleshagni mean? So the devotee has no more material disturbances? What does it mean? Kleshagni. Kleshagni. What does it mean? हाँ बोलिए. Right. So tribulations will definitely be there. See what Prabhupada is writing here. Then all the material tribulations that disturb him will be subdued. So tribulations may be there. Of course, tribulations themselves also can be nullified because all distresses are due to sinful activities. So devotee stops sinful activities, then all the tribulations also can actually be nullified because karma is destroyed. Karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhaja. But what is even more important, the nature of the material world is tribulations will continue, but then the most important thing is that one will know how to deal with them, how to tolerate them. So therefore, the whole concern of the conditioned soul should be the lotus feet of the Lord, how to take shelter. That is the most important concern. Then, as far as tribulations are concerned, one will be able to tolerate them and know how to deal with them. Okay. So now they're finally, after all these prayers, till now they didn't ask directly what they wanted. Some indirectly they're presenting what they want. They're saying, oh, you know everything. So you give us what we want, relieve us. They didn't ask very directly. But finally they are asking directly. Read.
Therefore, O Lord, O Supreme Controller, O Lord Krishna, please annihilate this dangerous demon Vritrasur, Twashta's son, who has already swallowed all our weapons, our paraphernalia for fighting, and our strength and influence.
Okay, so finally they came to the point. Please destroy this dangerous demon, Vritrasur. So that is what they wanted. So Prabhupada is speaking about 4 classes of people who approach the Lord, 4 classes who don't approach. And then after that, Prabhupada is writing, when the demigods are utterly helpless, they approach the Supreme Personality of God in grief and with tears in their eyes, praying to the Lord, and thus they become almost pure devotees, free from material desires. So they don't become totally pure devotees, they become almost pure devotees. Admitting that they have forgotten pure devotional service because of extensive material opportunities, they fully surrender to the Lord, leaving to his consideration whether to maintain them or annihilate them. Such surrender is necessary. Bhakti Vinod Thakur sings, Maro bira ko bhi yo ichha tuhar. O Lord, I fully surrender unto your lotus feet. Now, as you desire, you may protect me or annihilate me. You have the full right to do either. Okay, next.
O Lord, O Supreme Pure, you live within the core of everyone's heart and observe all the desires and activities of the conditioned souls. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, known as Lord Krishna, your reputation is bright and illuminating. You have no beginning, for you are the beginning of everything. This is understood by pure devotees because you are easily accessible to the pure and truthful. When the conditioned souls are liberated and sheltered at your lotus feet after roving throughout the material world for many millions of years, they attain the highest success of life. Therefore, O Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, we offer our respectful obeisances at your lotus feet.
Prabhupada writes, the demigods certainly wanted Lord Vishnu to relieve their anxiety, but now they directly approach Lord Krishna. For although there is no difference between Lord Krishna and Lord Vishnu, Krishna descends to this planet in his Vasudev feature for the purpose of Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashadushrita. Okay, so here they are directly saying Krishnaya. Krishnaya. Of course, Prabhupada, in the word to word, he says, unto the super soul who is a partial manifestation of Krishna. But in any case, they are they are more directly connecting with Krishna. That's what Prabhupada is saying here. And so they're saying that when the conditioned souls, after going throughout the material world, they are frustrated, then they take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, and that's their success. So Prabhupada quotes from the Brahma Samhita, Deepachareva Dashantaram Abhipetya, and then he says, Krishna expands himself as Vishnu, the way a bright candle kindles another. Although there's no difference between the power of one candle and another, Krishna is compared to the original candle. The word Mrishta Yashase is significant herein because Krishna is always famous for relieving his devotee from danger. A devotee who has sacrificed everything for the service of the Lord and whose only source of relief is the Lord is known as Akinchana. As expressed in the prayers offered by Queen Kunti, the Lord is Akinchana Vitta, the property of such a devotee. Those who are liberated from the bondage of conditioned life are elevated to the spiritual world where they achieve 5 kinds of liberation. Okay. Okay, so that's the end of the prayers of the Devatas. Now what happens? Continue, please.
Sri Sukadev Goswami continued, O King Parikshit, when the demigods offered the Lord their sincere prayers in this way, the Lord listened by his causeless mercy. Being pleased, he then replied to the demigods.
Okay, so now the Lord is speaking to the Devatas. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Prito Hamba Sura Shrestha Mad Upasthana Vidyaya Atmeshwarya Smriti Pumsam Bhaktischaiva Yayamai.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O beloved demigods, you have offered your prayers to me with great knowledge, and I am certainly most pleased with you. A person is liberated by such knowledge, and thus he remembers my exalted position, which is above the conditions of material life. Such a devotee is fully purified by offering prayers in full knowledge. This is the source of devotional service to me.
Okay, Prabhupada says that how the Supreme Lord is known as Uttama Shloka, which means there is offered praise with selected verses. Bhakti means Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. Impersonalists cannot be purified, for they do not offer personal praise to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even though they sometimes offer prayers, the prayers are not directed towards the Supreme Person. Impersonalists sometimes show their incomplete knowledge by addressing the Lord as being nameless. They always offer prayers indirectly saying, you are this, you are that, but they do not know to whom they are praying. A devotee always offers personal praise, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. That is the way to offer prayers. If one continues to offer such personal praise to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is eligible to become pure devotee and return home back to Godhead. So the Lord over here, he's saying that yes, you have offered nice prayers with knowledge. And so he's saying, Pritoham, I'm pleased with all these prayers that you have offered. And so one can definitely be purified by offering such prayers. Next. Kim durapam mai prite tatapi vibudharshabah mai ekantamati nanyan matto vanchati tattvavets.
O best of the intelligent demigods, although it is true that nothing is difficult for one to obtain when I am pleased with him, a pure devotee whose mind is exclusively fixed upon me does not ask me for anything but the opportunity to engage in devotional service.
Yes, so here the Lord is indicating that what a devotee should be interested in. First of all, he says, Kim dunapam mai prite. So if the Lord is pleased, then what is difficult to obtain? Nothing. Anything can be obtained. Still, the devotee who is ekantamati, who is fixed in devotional service, then he doesn't ask for anything. Na anyat mattaha vanchati tattvavit. So one who is tattvavit, he does not ask anything else from the Lord other than devotion service. He does not ask for anything else. So the only thing that the devotee wants is to serve. It does not matter which service. The only prayer of the devotee is he wants the opportunity to serve. So being attached to one form of service also is a problem. Hmm. So sometimes one may get attached to one type of service. Then when one was told to do some other type of service, there is a lot of frustration. So the devotee only wants to serve. Hmm. So Prabhupada writes, when the demigods finished offering their prayers, they anxiously waited for the enemy Vritarasura to be killed. This means that the demigods are not pure devotees, because they had a purpose in offering the prayers. And towards the end, they made it very clear. The main purpose was Vritarasura should be killed. Although without difficulty, one can get anything he desires if the Lord is pleased, the demigods aspire for material profit by pleasing the Lord. The Lord wanted the demigods to pray for unalloyed devotional service, but instead, they prayed for opportunity to kill their enemy. So they could have prayed for pure devotional service, but what they prayed for? Enemy should be killed. This is the difference between pure devotee and a devotee on the material platform. Indirectly, the Lord regretted that the demigods did not ask for pure devotional service. So the only thing that we should pray for is Mama Janmani Janmani Shware Bhavatad Bhakti Rahituki Tvai. So we have to simply repeat these prayers. Mahaprabhu has taught us. So simply ask for pure devotional service life after life. And that is what we find in the prayers of all the devotees. So just like we find in the Mahaprakash Leela, when Mahaprabhu is offering benedictions to all his intimate associates, like Kolavecha Sridhar, Srivas Thakur, Haridas Thakur, and Lord was prepared to give them anything, whatever they wanted. Mystic siddhis, heavenly opulences, anything. But what do they ask for? They only ask for pure devotional service. They are in the association of devotees, service to the devotees. Haridas Thakur is saying, let me simply be born in the house of a devotee, even if it be in the body of an insect, where I can simply get the remnants of the foodstuff of the devotees. So that is the only thing which they ask for. They never ask for anything material. So that should be the aspiration of a devotee. Nothing material. Nothing for oneself. So this should be the mood. So here even the Lord is regretting. See these devatas, they're so foolish. They could have asked for pure devotional service, but they're not asking. They simply ask for the enemy to be killed. This is foolishness. 49. Na veda kripana shreya atmano guna vastudrik tasyata nichato yached yadi sopi tata vidaha.
Those who think material assets to be everything or to be the ultimate goal of life are called misers, kripanas. They do not know the ultimate necessity of the soul. Moreover, if one awards that which is desired by such fools, he must also be considered foolish.
The Lord is saying that, so these devatas, they are kripana. Na veda kripana shreya. So that's what we were discussing, prayas and shreyas. So those who are kripana, they do not know what is shreyas. Why? Because gunavastudrik, they're simply attracted, they're simply influenced by the modes of material nature. Therefore, they do not understand what is shreyas. And therefore, ichchata yachet yadi saha api tata vidaha. So if one bestows what such a foolish kripana desires, then that person who bestows that is also considered to be foolish. So we know the difference between Brahmana and Kripana. Not knowing how to utilize his human or demigod life, a Kripana is attracted by things created by the material modes of nature. The Kripanas who always desire material benefits are foolish, whereas Brahmanas who always desire spiritual benefits are intelligent. If a Kripana, not knowing his self-interest, foolishly asks for something material, one who awards it to him is also foolish. So who award material benedictions? Yes, the devatas. So indirectly the Lord is saying, you devatas, you are very foolish, because you simply satisfy material desires of people who come to you. If a Kripana, not knowing his self-interest, foolishly asks for something material, one who awards it to him is also foolish. Krishna, however, is not a foolish person. He is supremely intelligent. If someone comes to Krishna asking for material benefits, Krishna does not award him the material things he desires. Instead, the Lord gives him intelligence so that he will not forget, so that he will forget his material desires and become attached to the Lord's lotus feet. In such cases, although the Kripana offers praise to Lord Krishna for material things, the Lord takes away whatever material possessions the Kripana has and gives him the sense to become a devotee. And then he's quoting these verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Ami vigya e murke vishaya kena diba swachanamrita diya vishaya bhulaibha. Since I am very intelligent, why should I give this fool material prosperity? Instead, I shall induce him to take the nectar of the shelter of my lotus feet and make him forget illusory material enjoyment. If one sincerely prays to God for material possessions in exchange for devotional service, the Lord, who is not foolish like such an unintelligent devotee, shows him special favor by taking away whatever material possessions he has and gradually giving him the intelligence to be satisfied only by rendering service to his lotus feet. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments in this regard that if a foolish child requests his mother to give him poison, the mother, being intelligent, will certainly not give him poison, even though he requests it. A materialist does not know that to accept material possessions means to accept poison or the repetition of birth and death. An intelligent person, a Brahmana, aspires for liberation from material bondage. That is the real self-interest of a human being. So this is how the Lord reciprocates with a devotee who approaches him for material possessions. So when a devotee approaches for material possessions, the Lord will not give material possessions. Especially when? Yes, when the devotee is sincere. When the devotee is sincere, is sincerely practicing devotional service, but somehow, due to influence of material energy, he wants some material possessions, some material things he wants. Then the Lord does not give, because he knows that it is like poison for the devotee. So rather than giving, he will take away material possessions. So we know the famous verse. What? Yasyaham anugrinnami harishe tad dhanam shanai. What is the next part? Tato dhanam tyajantyasya swajana dukkha dukkitam. So the Lord puts the devotee into two types of miseries. One misery is he takes away material possessions. Second misery is all his friends and relatives leave him. In this way, the devotee suffers misery after misery. This is what the Lord does when a devotee has material desires and sincerely wants to progress. Then the Lord gives special mercy. So this comes in the 88th chapter of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and also in the Krishna book. So how many of you have read this? I'm sure you must have read it sometime. But I think it's worth revising that, correct? So it's very amazing how Srila Prabhupada explains in his Krishna book. So we will go through some part of that Krishna book. You want to show it here? So what is better? Voluntarily give up material desires or get special Channamrit? Lord is saying, I'll give you Channamrit, Swa Channamrit Diya. Channamrit he'll give, but how he gives is very inconceivable. So up to us. whether we want special Channamrit or agree to give up material desires on one's own. Choice is ours. But see, all this is science. This who is speaking? Who is speaking this? Lord himself is speaking. And here in the 88th chapter of the 10th canto, there who is speaking? There also Krishna only is speaking to Yudhishthira Maharaj. So Lord himself is speaking all these things. So therefore, no, you go to Krishna book. Because Prabhupada explains in a nice, very nice, beautiful way. Chapter 88. So we find initially Parishad Maharaj is asking Shukadeva Goswami why devotees of Lord Shiva are very opulent, and the devotees of, even though Lord Shiva lives under a tree, and the devotees of Lord Krishna, they are very poor, even though he is Lakshmipati. So that's the initial question of Parishad Maharaj to Shukadeva Goswami. And then Shukadeva Goswami begins to answer by quoting this conversation between Yudhishthira Maharaj and Krishna. Okay, go ahead. So there's this paragraph starting with Shukadeva Goswami, in answering Parikshit Maharaj's question, went on to cite a historical instance regarding Parikshit Maharaj's grandfather, King Yudhishthir. Okay, got that? Yes. Okay, so begin to read from here.
Shukadeva Goswami, in answering Parikshit Maharaj's question, went on to cite a historical instance regarding Parikshit Maharaj's grandfather, King Yudhishthir. He said that after finishing the Ashwamedh sacrifice in the great sacrificial arena, King Yudhishthir, in the presence of great authorities, inquired from Lord Krishna on that very same point. How is it that the devotee of Lord Shiva become materially opulent, whereas the devotees of Lord Vishnu do not? Shukadeva Goswami specifically referred to King Yudhishthir as your grandfather, so that Maharaj Parikshit would be encouraged to think that he was related to Krishna and that his grandfathers were intimately connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although Krishna is always very satisfied by nature, when Maharaj Yudhishthir asked this question, the Lord became even more satisfied, because this question and its answers would bear a great meaning for the entire Krishna conscious society.
Okay, so this Prabhupada is writing. The question and its answer would bear a great meaning for the entire Krishna conscious society. So that means for all devotees, this conversation is very important to understand. Go ahead.
Whenever Lord Krishna speaks about something to a specific devotee, it is meant not only for that devotee, but for all devotees, and indeed for the entire human society. Instructions by the Supreme Personality of Godhead are important even to Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and other demigods. And if one does not take advantage of the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who descends within this world for the benefit of all living entities, he is certainly very unfortunate.
So if one doesn't take advantage of all these instructions, one is very unfortunate. Okay, you can pass the mic, let others read.
Lord Krishna answered the question of Maharaj Yudhishthir as follows. If I especially favor a devotee and especially wish to care for him, the first thing I do is take away his riches.
Okay, so this is the translation to that verse. Yes, Yamanagurna.
When the devotee becomes a penniless pauper or is put into a comparatively poverty-stricken position, his relatives and family members no longer take interest in him, and in most cases, they give up their connection with him. The devotee then becomes doubly unhappy. First of all, the devotee becomes unhappy because his riches have been taken away by Krishna, and he is made even more unhappy when his relatives desert him because of his poverty. We should note, however, that when a devotee falls into a miserable condition in this way, it is not due to past impious activities known as karma phala. The poverty of the devotee is a creation of the personality of Godhead.
Okay? The poverty of the devotee is creation of the personality of Godhead. It is not due to karma phal. Because Srila Prabhupada explains in his lectures also, when somebody becomes a devotee, especially serious devotee, takes initiation, then actually the time of initiation, the account of karma becomes zero. Everything becomes zero. Everything is taken away. So therefore, then after that, whatever happens is what? It's creation of the Lord. Even though it may be according to karma, but still it is not given by material energy. It's not given by Maya. It's directly given by the Supreme Lord. Okay?
Similarly, when a devotee becomes materially opulent, that is also not due to his pious activities. In either case, whether the devotee becomes poorer or richer, the arrangement is made by the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay, so one should never think that this is due to my activities or my endeavors, I'm getting riches, I'm getting Aishwarya. No. As devotees, whatever is happening, it's only happening because it is sanctioned by the Supreme Lord. It is not karma. Especially for initiated devotees, it is not karma. It is everything is being orchestrated by the Supreme Lord. Again.
This arrangement is especially made by Krishna for his devotee, just to make him completely dependent upon him and to free him from all material obligations. He can then concentrate his energies, mind, and body, everything for the service of the Lord, and that is pure devotional service. In the Narada Pancharatra, it is therefore explained, Sarvopadhi Vinirmuktam, which means being freed from all designations. Works performed for family, society, community, nation, or humanity are all designated. I belong to this society. I belong to this community. I belong to this nation. I belong to this species of life. Such identities are all merely designations. When by the grace of the Lord, a devotee is freed from all designations, his devotional service is actually Naishkarmya. Jnanis are very much attracted by the position of Naishkarmya, in which one's activities no longer have any material effect. The devotee's activities are freed from material effects, and so they are no longer in the category of karma phalam or fruitive activities. As explained before by the personified Vedas, the happiness and distress of a devotee are produced by the personality of Godhead, and the devotee therefore does not care whether he is in happiness or in distress. He goes on with his duties in executing devotional service. Although his behavior seems to be subject to the actions and reactions of fruitive activities, he is actually freed from the results of action.
Okay, so you see in the Krishna book, Prabhupada, he elaborates everything. So that is why it's good to read from the Krishna book. So although his behavior seems to be subject to the actions and reactions of fruitive activity, it seems to be. So it seems that the devotee is also going through karma like any other ordinary person. But the fact is, it's all given by the Supreme Lord. He is freed from results of action. Next.
It may be questioned why a devotee is put into such a tribulation by the personality of Godhead. The answer is that this kind of arrangement by the Lord is just like a father sometimes becoming unkind to his sons. Because the devotee is a surrendered soul and is taken charge of by the Supreme Lord, whatever condition of life the Lord put him in, whether one of distress or of happiness. It is to be understood that behind this arrangement is a large plan designed by the personality of Godhead. For example, Lord Krishna put the Pandavas into a distress condition so acute that even grandfather Bhishma could not comprehend how such a distress could occur. He lamented that although the whole Pandava family was headed by King Yudhishthir, the most pious king, and protected by the two great warriors, Bhima and Arjuna, and although above all the Pandavas were all intimate friends and relatives of the Lord Krishna, they still had to undergo such a tribulation. Later, however, it was proved that this was planned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, as part of his great mission to annihilate the miscreant and the protect the devotees.
Okay, so it's a plan of the Lord, just like a father sometimes gives suffering to the sons. Sometimes a father may slap the child, sometimes the father may give some bitter medicine to the child. All that is because of what? Yes, his love for the child. His love for the child. So similarly, Krishna is the Supreme Father. So whatever he does for the living beings ultimately is his love for them. So sometimes that slap is required, just so that the child does not do some wrong activity. So one must have that faith that this is what the Lord is doing. Okay, go ahead. So very nice, the whole subject matter of why a devotee suffers is being very nicely analytically explained over here. Okay, continue.
Another question may be raised. What is the difference between a devotee and a common man, since both are put into different kinds of happy and distressful conditions? The devotee by the arrangement of the personality of Godhead, and the common man as a result of his past deeds.
Okay, so very nice question. Okay, both are suffering. Okay, somebody may say, okay, this suffering is given by Lord, this suffering is given by material nature. But suffering is suffering. What difference it makes? Ultimately, headache is headache. Na? Somebody is having headache. Whoever gives the headache is headache. So what difference it makes? Somebody may ask the question. So now he's answering.
How is the devotee any better than the ordinary karmi? The answer is that the karmis and the devotees are not on the same level. In whatever condition of life the karmi may be, he continues in the cycle of birth and death because the seed of karma or fruitive activity is there, and it fructifies whenever there is an opportunity.
Okay, so this is what the karmi undergoes suffering due to his past karma, and the suffering is going to continue. Life and death is going to continue. So all these points are actually very important for preaching also. So why devotees suffer and what is the difference? So many things. It's very good for personal application also. For preaching also is very good. Continue.
By the law of karma, a common man is perpetually entangled in repeated birth and death, whereas a devotee's distress and happiness, not being under the laws of karma, are part of a temporary arrangement by the Supreme Lord, which does not entangle the devotee.
Yes, so when a devotee gets happiness or distress, it is temporary arrangement by the Supreme Lord. So Supreme Lord is orchestrating that for a particular purpose. So it is simply temporary. Yes, go ahead.
Such an arrangement is made by the Lord only to serve a temporary purpose. If a karmi performs auspicious acts, he is elevated to the heavenly planets, and if he acts impiously, he is put into hellish condition. But whether a devotee acts in a so-called pious or impious manner, he is neither elevated nor degraded, but is transferred to the spiritual kingdom. Therefore, a devotee's happiness and distress and a karmi's happiness and distress are not on the same level.
Okay, so the Lord gives happiness and distress. He'll purify the devotee, and at the end, he'll take the devotee back to the spiritual worlds. But karmi's happiness and distress given by material nature, and it'll continue life after life. But the Lord has a specific purpose in giving that happiness and distress. And therefore, sometimes we find in the lives of devotees, somebody gets some distress, and how much ever the devotee tries to get rid of the distress, it does not go. We have seen this. We see some devotees have health issues and they go from one doctor to another. But whatever they do, they don't get cured. Because all doctors are controlled by the Supreme Lord. So what can any doctor do? When the Supreme Doctor is not allowing, what can any doctor do? Nothing can be done. The devotee can try, nothing wrong. But one has to have that faith that till the point the Supreme Lord does not sanction, no cure. One has to tolerate. And that is how Krishna purifies the devotee and makes the devotee humble. And then finally, one may go to so many doctors, finally goes to one doctor, and that doctor's treatment works. Correct, Keshava Prabhu? We have heard from many devotees all these things. And then that devotee thinks, oh, this doctor is so nice. And then he makes big advertisement of that doctor. And then so many other devotees start going to that doctor, but for others it does not work. So then it becomes very clear somebody else is in control. It is not based upon that doctor's treatment. The treatment also works only when Krishna sanctions. Then only that treatment will work. So this is the difference between the punishment or the suffering of a devotee and a non-devotee. So then when one understands these facts, one will learn to tolerate, because one knows Krishna is giving this suffering for what? For my own purification, for my own well-being. So therefore, just like when one goes to a doctor and the doctor gives some painful injections or does some painful surgery, is the patient happy or sad? The patient is happy, no? Because he's going to get cured. And then he pays to the doctor. So similarly, we have to understand that what the Lord is doing is for our benefit. So we should be happy. So therefore, Ridvag, Vapubir, Vidudan, Namaste. He thanks the Lord with his body, mind and words. Thank you, my dear Lord. This is for my purification so that I can come closer to you. So this should be the consciousness. Then a devotee will not be so much affected. Continue, please.
This fact is corroborated by a speech by Yamaraj to his servants in connection with the liberation of Ajamil. Yamaraj advised his followers that they should approach only those persons who have never uttered the holy name of the Lord or remembered the form, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord. Yamaraj also advised his servants never to approach the devotees. On the contrary, he instructed his messengers that if they meet a devotee, they should offer their respectful obeisances. So there is no question of a devotee being promoted or degraded within this material world. As there is a gulf of difference between the punishment awarded by the mother and the punishment awarded by an enemy, so a devotee's distress is not the same as the distress of a common karmi.
Yes. Okay, good. Now he is raising another question.
Here another question may be raised. If the Supreme Lord is all-powerful, why should he try to reform his devotee by putting him in distress?
Okay, another question. So, okay, Lord wants to reform the devotee. There's only one way to reform, by giving distress. There could be some other better ways not to reform the devotee. Why only this way? Putting so much distress, so much pain, so much suffering, and then the devotee has to... The Lord is all-powerful. He can find out some other ways. Just change the devotee's mind. No? Purify the mind, then why the devotee has to go through so much distress? The Lord can just do like that and finished. All the sinful activities, tendencies, everything can be finished. Why he should go through so much distress? Okay, answer.
The answer is that when the Supreme Personality of Godhead puts his devotees in distress, it is not without purpose. Sometimes the purpose is that in distress, a devotee's feelings of attachment to Krishna are magnified. For example, when Krishna, before leaving the capital of Pandavas for his home, asked Kunti Devi for permission to leave, she said, "My dear Krishna, in our distress, you were always present with us. Now, because we have been elevated to a royal position, you are leaving us. I would therefore prefer to live in distress than to lose you." When a devotee is put into a situation of distress, his devotional activities are accelerated. Therefore, to show special favor to a devotee, the Lord sometimes puts him into distress.
Okay, we all have that experience, right? When there is some distress, then there is more intensity in one's devotional service, intensity in chanting the holy names. So much intensity comes. So, of course, again, there are many instances. Once there were some devotees from Nigdi who were traveling to Mumbai. You heard of that? Huh? So this happened many years back. So some devotees were traveling to Mumbai in a bus from Nigdi to Mumbai. And when the bus was going through the ghats, you know the ghats. So at a particular instance, the bus was going down a slope. And then the driver realized that the brakes have failed. So the driver informed the devotees, hey, the brakes are not working. So then the devotees knew what is going to happen. The bus is going to go right down into the valley. So that time, with so much intensity, they started chanting Narasimha prayers. So that time, what happens? The intensity comes actually from deep within one's consciousness, because one is totally helpless. One knows for sure 100%. Now the end is going to come. There is so much intensity. Then somehow the driver managed to hit the bus against a tree and the bus stopped. They were saved. His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj quite a few times talks about the incident on the British Airways when there was an emergency landing. And so when the flight was making the emergency landing, so as the flight was landing, there were all these ambulances and fire brigades, fire engines, all of them ready. All their sirens were making noise and everyone was ready, because there was something wrong with the plane and there was a likelihood of the plane crashing. And so Maharaj says that till that point of time, as usual, I was just chanting casually. But once there was this announcement about this emergency landing and all these ambulances and sirens, so then he was chanting intensely. And then he says, so that I wished that this situation could continue so that I can intensely chant the holy names. So in any case, so we all have that experience. So when there is some distress, then automatically the intensity of one's devotional service increases. But should we wait for the distress to increase the intensity? So better we do it voluntarily, no? Or then Krishna will have to create the distress, so that our intensity increases. It just reminds me of one instance of one boy who was chanting 16 rounds, just started chanting 16 rounds, and then somehow he was doing a job and he became somewhat lax in his devotional service, maybe reduced his rounds also. So then what happened is, so one day he was traveling to his hometown, Kanpur, from Delhi. So it was at night time. And then just before reaching Kanpur, the train stopped at a station. It always stops at the station, actually. It's not an official stop. It doesn't go to the platform. It stops before the platform. So the train had stopped, and this devotee, he was getting ready to get down because the next stop is Kanpur. So he took his bags and everything, and he was standing at the door. So he opened the gate and he was standing there. Pitch dark. And all of a sudden, from the darkness, one man came, snatched his laptop bag, and ran away. So now, if it was anything else, maybe this boy would have thought, should I go or not? But because it was his laptop, he spontaneously jumped from the train and ran behind him. And so he ran behind this man, and the man took him to a hideout of dacoits. So they had their camp in those jungles there. So this boy went, and there was a whole gang of dacoits with all arms and weapons. And so this boy, he demanded his laptop. But what are they going to listen to? And he is alone. There are a dozen of them there with arms. So in any case, he was asking them, pleading with them. And so somehow they beat him very severely, injured him with weapons, took all his money, but they gave the laptop. And so he took the laptop, and fortunately the train was still standing. So he boarded the train, went to his home, and then got treated everything. So later when he came to Delhi, actually he came to the temple. I saw him with a big bandage around his head. So that's when I asked him, what happened? So then he told me this, what happened. But then the result was, he became very serious in his devotional service. So sometimes it may take a disaster for one to become serious. So one who's intelligent, he will not wait for the disaster. But if one is not intelligent, then this is what Krishna does. Then Krishna will orchestrate a disaster so that one will be forced to become serious. That's what Prabhupada is writing here. When a devotee is put into a situation of distress, his devotional activities are accelerated. Continue.
Besides that, it is stated that the sweetness...
Okay, therefore, to show special favor to a devotee, the Lord sometimes puts him into distress. Okay.
Besides that, it is stated that the sweetness of happiness is sweeter to those who have tasted bitterness. The Supreme Lord descends to this material world just to protect his devotees from distress. In other words, if devotee were not in a distressed condition, the Lord would not have to come down. As far as his killing of the demons or miscreants, this can be easily done by his various energies, just as many asuras are killed by his external energy, goddess Durga. Therefore, the Lord does not need to come down personally to kill such demons, but when his devotees is in distress, he must come. Lord Narasimhadev appeared not in order to kill Hiranyakashipu, but to save Prahlad and to give him blessings. In other words, because Prahlad Maharaj was put into very great distress, the Lord appeared.
So the Lord also appears when the devotee is in distress. So most of the avatars appear when when the devotees are in distress, correct? So Lord Vamandev, when he appeared? Yes, when the demigods, all their Swarglok was taken by Bali Maharaj, and Aditi was in great distress. So you take example of any avatar, shows usually when the devotees are in distress, that's when the Lord descends. Okay. And so for sadhakas, then the Lord wants to intensify devotional service of the devotee. That's why he puts him in distress. And for great devotees, then he has to again relieve them of their suffering in separation. So then the Lord appears. Okay.
When after the dense dark night there is finally sunrise in the morning, it is very pleasant. When there is a scorching heat, cold water is very pleasant. And when there is a freezing winter, hot water is very pleasant. Similarly, when a devotee, after experiencing the distress of the material world, relishes the spiritual happiness awarded by the Lord, his position is still more pleasant and enjoyable.
So the Lord wants to create a contrast. So when there is a contrast, therefore he's giving all these examples. Dark nights, when the sun rises, just like if many days it continues like this without sunlight, then when the sunlight comes, one will feel great happiness. Or when there is colds, then when there's heat, it's good. Or when there's heat, when there's cold, it's good. So all these contrasting situations. So similarly, the Lord wants to give a real experience of spiritual happiness. So therefore, he creates a situation of distress so that the devotee can actually relish and experience the spiritual happiness that the Lord later gives him. Okay?
The Lord continued, when my devotee is bereft of all material riches and is deserted by his relatives, friends, and family members because he has no one to look after him, he completely takes shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung in this connection, my dear Lord Krishna, O son of Nanda Maharaj, you are now standing before me with Srimati Radharani, the daughter of King Rishabhanu. I am now surrendering unto you. Please accept me. Please do not kick me away. I have no shelter other than you. When a devotee is thus put into so-called miserable conditions and bereft of riches and family, he tries to revive his original position of material opulence. But although he tries again and again, Krishna again and again takes away all his resources. Thus, he finally becomes disappointed in material activities, and in that stage of frustration in all endeavors, he can fully surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay, good example of this is 11th canto, Avanti Brahman.
Such persons are advised by the Lord from within to associate with devotees. By associating with devotees, they naturally become inclined to render service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they immediately get all facilities from the Lord to advance in Krishna consciousness.
Right. So when a devotee is put into such condition, he may be bewildered. But in that condition, what the devotee should do? Associate with devotees. Then one will get proper guidance, proper intelligence. Then one can intensify one's Krishna consciousness. Okay?
The non-devotees, however, are very careful about preserving their material condition of life. Generally, therefore, such non-devotees do not come to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but worship Lord Shiva or other demigods for immediate material profit. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said, therefore, Kankshata karmanam siddhim yajant iha devata. The karmis, in order to achieve success within this material world, worship the various demigods. It is also stated by Lord Krishna that those who worship the demigods are not mature in their intelligence. The devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, and therefore, because of their strong attachment for him, do not foolishly go to the demigods.
Okay, now the last paragraph, which is very important.
Lord Krishna said to King Yudhishthir, my devotee is not deterred by any adverse conditions of life. He always remains firm and steady. Therefore, I give myself to him and I favor him so that he can achieve the highest success of life.
Okay, so if the devotee continues steadily, then what will happen? Lord gives himself to such a devotee because he is pleased.
The mercy bestowed upon the tried devotee.
Tried devotee means the devotee who has gone through various trials and tribulations.
Tried devotee by the Supreme Personality is described as Brahma, which indicates that the greatness of that mercy can be compared only to the all-pervasive greatness of Brahman. Brahma means
Brahma
means unlimitedly great and unlimitedly expanding. That mercy is also described as Paramam, for it has no comparison within this material world, and it is also called Sukshmam, very fine. Not only is the Lord's mercy upon the tried devotee great and unlimitedly expansive, but it is of the finest quality of transcendental love between the devotee and the Lord. Such mercy is further described as chinmatram, completely spiritual. The use of the word matram indicates absolute spirituality with no tinge of material qualities. That mercy is also called sat, eternal, and anantakam, unlimited. Since the devotee of the Lord is awarded such unlimited spiritual benefit, why should he worship the demigods? A devotee of Krishna does not worship Lord Shiva or Brahma or any other subordinate demigod. He completely devotes himself to the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So if a devotee is completely dependent on the Supreme Lord, accepts whatever trials and tribulations come in his life, if he accepts and continues devotional service, then the Lord awards him such unlimited mercy, which is being described by all these words: Brahma, Sukshmam, Sat, Anantakam, unlimited mercy he gets. So that is why a devotee should have full faith on the Supreme Lord, and in spite of whatever trials and tribulations come, if he continues on his practice of devotional service, then one will get unlimited mercy. So this is what we have to learn from this whole thing. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. Take a break and then. the Devatas for simply coming to him for some fulfillment of material desires. So therefore, in the 49th verse, he's saying, Na Veda Kripana Shreya Atmano Guna Vastudrik Tasyata Nichato Yached Yadi Sopi Tata Vidaha. Those who think material assets to be everything or to be the ultimate goal of life are called misers, kripanas. They do not know the ultimate necessity of the soul. Moreover, if one awards that which is desired by such fools, he must also be considered foolish. Okay, 50th verse. Swayam nishreyasam vidvan na bhaktyajnaya karmahi narati rogino patyam vanchato api bishaktamaha.
Pure devotee was fully accomplished in the science of devotional service will never instruct a foolish person to engage in fruitive activities for material enjoyment, not to speak of helping him in such activities. Such a devotee is like an experienced physician who never encourages a patient to eat food injurious to his health, even if the patient desires it.
Yes. So therefore, a pure devotee, he will never instruct someone to engage in fruitive activities. Somebody who is vitvan, like tattvavit or vitvan, one who knows the truth. So, na vakti ajnaya karmahi. So he will never instruct, he will never teach a foolish person ajnaya about karma simply for sense gratification. But rather what he will teach? Nishreyasam. He'll teach him of the supreme goal of life. So just like narati rogina apatyam vanchata api bishaktamaha. So somebody who is an experienced doctor, he will never give something to a patient which is injurious to his health. Srila Prabhupada narrates an incident in his own life when he was at Prayag. So one day he hears from the neighboring house that the mother is severely beating one child and the child is loudly crying. So Srila Prabhupada is wondering why the mother is beating so much. So anyway, he sends one servant to go and find out what's the matter. So the servant finds out and he comes back and he tells Srila Prabhupada that the matter was, so the mother had two children, two boys, and one boy had typhoid. And when the mother was out, so the boy asked his brother, some paratas have been made, please give me some paratas. So the other brother gave paratas. And so when the mother came back, she came to know about that, and then she was severely beating the child. Why? Because he is giving something which is injurious to the health of that boy. So therefore, one should not facilitate the sense gratification of ignorant people. Srila Prabhupada tells another story. He tells the story of a boy who was going to school and stealing some things. So he used to steal some pen, pencil, small things. He used to steal and bring home. So the boy was not staying with his parents, he was staying with his aunt. So the aunt was thinking, okay, very nice, the boy is bringing some things home, very good. So she was not correcting him, not chastising him. But what happened? The habit kept on increasing. So once one gets a habit, very difficult to give it up. So then the habit kept on increasing and the propensity to steal kept on increasing. And then later on he began to steal big things. And when the boy grew up, young man, then he was stealing banks and looting people and murder and so many things he was doing. And so then he murdered someone and then he was sentenced to be hanged. And so when he was going to be hanged, they asked him, so what is your last wish? So he said, I want to speak something to my aunt. So the aunt was called, and then when she came, he said, I want to speak something in the ear. So when she came close, he bit the ear. And so the aunt was crying, hey, what happened? Why are you doing this? So he said, see, now you are crying that I'm going to be hanged. But when I was stealing those small things in my childhood, you didn't say anything. You allowed? Now you see the result. Now what is the use of crying? So therefore, Srila Prabhupada tells these stories to make this point that how, as is being mentioned over here, a pure devotee who is fully accomplished in the science of devotional service will never instruct a foolish person to engage in fruitive activities for material enjoyment, not to speak of helping him in such activities. So therefore, just today I was hearing a lecture of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada is saying, so therefore, we instruct people in the truth without compromise. No compromise. So we don't tell people. Srila Prabhupada uses some nice words. So he says, we don't instruct people according to their whims. We don't try to satisfy their whims, but we speak the Shastra as it is without compromise. And if they're fortunate, they will accept. If not, they will not accept. But we cannot compromise. So this is an important point for us to note. Sometimes preachers also tend to think that, okay, just to attract people, let us compromise a little bit. No, that is not allowed. There's a similar verse in Narad Muni's teachings to Vyasadeva also. And there also there is same example given about this doctor and patient. So the point is that this is what Srila Prabhupada always emphasized. My Guru Maharaj never compromised. I also never compromised. And you also don't compromise. So therefore, we should learn to present things as it is. Of course, we may present in a way that is understandable to the people, but the philosophy cannot be compromised. We have to present things as it is. And so therefore, it's not that we have to present things so that people are going to be pleased with us, so that number of followers increase, so that viewership increases. That cannot be the basis. If we make that as the basis, we may please the people, but we will not please Krishna. And ultimately, we are not doing the ultimate benefit for the people also. So if we water down things, just give something very superficial. Of course, we have to give according to the level of the people. That is understood. But at the same time, one cannot just water down things in the name of humor and jokes and introduce all sorts of unnecessary jokes and stories which have no connection to philosophy, just to make people laugh and entertain them. So all these things are going on these days. And we may attract people, but actually what we are doing is we are only satisfying their minds with all this compromise stuff. Then when they come inside, then they will continue to look for the same thing. And then later on, when we will tell them something serious, they will say, oh, this is very difficult now. They will leave. Because they have come with an intention to get compromised stuff, not serious stuff. So if we compromise, then we will get compromised people only. So you see, when Srila Prabhupada was preaching, even in 1966 lectures, I'm sure many of us have heard, right? 1966, initial lectures, what was Prabhupada speaking? Huh? Rupa Shiksha, Sanatan Shiksha, that was what he was speaking. And Bhagavad Gita. Absolute plain philosophy. There is absolute not a tinge of desire to impress people. Plain philosophy as it is, Prabhupada is speaking. Was Prabhupada making any changes at that time? No. The only thing is he was speaking in more simpler language, that is all. The philosophy, absolutely the same. From those initial days till the final days, Prabhupada was speaking the same thing. No change. But then what type of devotees came? What type of devotees came? Devotees who were ready to give their lives for Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada's mission. And those devotees spread the movement all over the world. So, and that is what we find that in Markandeya Bhagavad Dharma, Srila Prabhupada is not depending on himself or is on his own tricks or word jugglery or anything like that. He is fully dependent on Krishna's mercy. That's all. He is fully dependent on Krishna's mercy and is simply repeating Krishna's words and the Parampara's words. That's all. And because he was so fully dependent on Krishna's mercy, then Krishna's mercy flowed through him and then the miracle happened. So therefore, if we think we want to satisfy the whims or sense gratificatory desires of people and try to somehow please them, we may please them. We may please their minds, but their souls are not going to be satisfied and they will not be wanting to actually take serious Krishna consciousness. So, that is what the Lord himself is telling the Devatas over here. So, one can speak in simpler ways, in easy ways to understand, but the philosophy can never be compromised. So, Prabhupada writes here, here's the difference between the benedictions awarded by the demigods and those awarded by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Devotees of the demigods ask for benediction simply for sense gratification, and therefore they have been described in Bhagavad Gita as better for kamastesya ritagyan. And then Prabhupada is giving different examples of why people go to different demigods. And then later on he says, the benedictions will be finished at the end of the cosmic manifestation along with those who bestow them. If one approaches Lord Vishnu for benedictions, the Lord will give him benediction that will help him return home back to Godhead. Tesham satyuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam janma karma chame divyam. And then the last paragraph, a devotee may foolishly ask for material benedictions, but Lord Krishna does not give him such benedictions despite the devotee's prayers. Therefore, people who are very attached to material life do not generally become devotees of Krishna or Vishnu. Instead, they become devotees of demigods. Kamastesya. Okay. Tesham tadbhavati. Alpamedasam. A non-Vaishnava, one who is not engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is considered a fool with small quantity of brain substance. Okay. So in any case, the Devatas have approached the Supreme Lord. So now the Supreme Lord is giving a solution for their problem. So what is the solution? Magavanyata Badram Vo Dadyancham Rishi Sattamam Vidyavrata Tapasaram Gatram Yachatamachiram. Pardon? You only read?
O Magavan Indra, all good fortune unto you. I advise you to approach the exalted saint Dadichi. He has become very accomplished in knowledge, vows, and austerities, and his body is very strong. Go ask him for his body without delay.
So that's a solution the Lord gives to the Devatas to free them from their problem. So Prabhupada writes, everyone in this material world from Lord Brahma down to the ant is eager to keep his body comfortable. A pure devotee may also be comfortable, but he is not eager for such a benediction. Okay, so pure devotee also may like to be comfortable, but he's not eager. If the Lord gives, well and good. If not, well and good. Since Maghavan, the king of heaven, still aspired for a comfortable bodily situation, Lord Vishnu advised him to ask Dadyancha for his body, which was very strong due to his knowledge, vows, and austerity. Interestingly, not by going to the gym, became strong by knowledge, vows, and austerity. Okay, so then the Lord is telling something more about this Dadyancha or Dadichi. Savadigato Dadyan Ashvibhyam Brahma Nishkalam Yadva Ashva Shiro Nama Tayor Amaratam Vyadat.
That saintly Dadyancha, who is also known as Dadichi, personally assimilated the spiritual science and then delivered it to Ashwini Kumaras. It is said that Dadyancha gave them mantras through the head of a horse. Therefore, the mantras are called Asvasira. After obtaining the mantras of spiritual science from Dadichi, the Ashwini Kumaras became Jivan Mukta, liberated even in this life.
Okay, so you can read the purport from the Acharyas. They're commenting on this, the story of Dadichi. So you can read that.
The great saint Dadichi had perfect knowledge of how to perform fruitive activities, and he had advanced spiritual knowledge as well. Knowing this, the Ashwini Kumaras once approached him and begged him to instruct them in spiritual science, Brahma Vidya. Dadichi Muni replied, I am now engaged in arranging sacrifices for fruitive activities. Come back sometime later. When the Ashwini Kumaras left, Indra, the king heaven, approached Dadichi and said, My dear Muni, the Ashwini Kumaras are only physicians. Please do not instruct them in spiritual science. If you impart the spiritual science to them despite my warning, I shall punish you by cutting off your head. After warning Dadichi in this way, Indra returned to heaven. The Ashwini Kumaras, who understood Indra's desire, returned and begged Dadichi for Brahma Vidya. When the great saint Dadichi informed them of the Indra's threat, the Ashwini Kumaras replied, Let us first cut off your head and replace it with the head of your horse. You can instruct Brahma Vidya through the horse head, and when Indra returns and cuts off that head, we shall reward you and restore your original head. Since Dadichi had promised to impart Brahma Vidya to the Ashwini Kumaras, he agreed to their proposal. Therefore, because Dadichi imparted Brahma Vidya through the mouth of a horse, this Brahma Vidya is also known as Asvasira.
So you can see Indra always has this insecurity problem. So he is afraid that the Ashwini Kumaras will become better than him. So he is thinking, Arey, these people are under me. He is the king, na? So the Ashwini Kumaras are supposed to be below him. So how can they get more knowledge? They may take my post. So he always has this insecurity. And he has only one treatment, simply cut off head. No other remedy. So, but of course, these Ashwini Kumaras are no ordinary people. They're not like material doctors. So they cut off the head before only. So this is what happens even in heavenly planets. So where there is peace in the material world, even in Swargaloka, all this is going on. Why? Because same material desires, same material problems. So there Indra is cutting off the head. Here somebody will do something else, if not cutting the head. But the same problems are there. But you can see this Indra, so he cut off the head of Dadichi. And now Indra has to go to that same Dadichi asking for his bones. Just see. So that very same person he cut off the head, now he has to go and ask for his bones. So, not so easy. But what to do? The Lord himself has given that advice. Okay, next. Read the translation.
Dadyancha's invincible protective covering known as the Narayana Kavach was given to Tvasta, who delivered it to his son Viswarup, from whom you have received it. Because of this Narayan Kavach, Dadichi's body is now very strong. You should therefore beg him for his body.
Next.
When the Ashwini Kumaras beg for Dadyancha's body on your behalf, he will surely give it because of affection. Do not doubt this, for Dadyancha is very experienced in religious understanding. When Dadyancha award you his body, Vishwakarma will prepare a thunderbolt from his bones. This thunderbolt will certainly kill Vritrasura because it will be invested with my power.
Okay, so who is saying all this? Lord himself is saying. So you see, whole plan he told him. So he's saying the Ashwini Kumaras should go and beg, because Dadichi is obliged to the Ashwini Kumaras. Because he got knowledge, because the Ashwini Kumaras got knowledge from Dadyancha. So if they go and ask, then he will give, and then prepare the thunderbolt, Vajra, and that will kill Vritrasur. Lord is giving full assurance, because it is invested with my power. Okay, 55.
When Vritrasura is killed because of my spiritual strength, you will regain your strength, weapons, and wealth. Thus there will be all good fortune for all of you. Although Vritrasura can destroy all the three worlds, do not fear that he will harm you. He is also a devotee and will never be envious of you.
So the Lord is telling him, don't worry, Vritrasura will not do anything to you. He is a devotee, he is not envious. So Prabhupada writes, a devotee of the Lord is never envious of anyone. What to speak of other devotees? So this is the hallmark quality of a devotee. Never envious of anyone. Not even other living entities. What to speak of other devotees? So this is the quality of a devotee, not envious. So in this connection, so of course we all know first canto, first chapter, second verse. What? Yes, nirmatsaranam satam. So the Bhagavatam can only be understood by one who is nirmatsar, free from envy. At the same time, Srila Prabhupada writes in that same purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, in this material world, everyone is envious of everyone else. In this world, every living entity is envious, because that's the cause of material existence. Ichha, dvesha, samuttena, dvandva mohena, bharata. So the cause of material existence is dvesh, envy. So therefore, envy is there in every living entity. So Prabhupada tells that story of the dog. The dog was carrying food in the mouth, and he was crossing a bridge, and then he saw in the water, what? He thought another dog is there. And so he was thinking, why this other dog also should have some food? All food only for me. This is what? Envy. So then immediately he started barking, and then the food from his own mouth fell off. Prabhupada tells this story, and Srila Prabhupada says this is a very important story. If one is envious of somebody else, he will lose even whatever he has. This will be the result. But then the fact is that envy exists amongst all living entities, including the lower animals. And then amongst human beings, even amongst family members, neighbors, societies, countries, so much of envy, so much of war these days. Everywhere war. Why? Same thing. Envy. Okay, some suggestions how to get rid of envy. Bolo.
There is one lecture that I had heard. Antidote of envy is appreciation. We should appreciate the
yes,
good
okay,
qualities of others.
But then to appreciate someone of whom I'm envious, is it easy?
No, not easy, but at least externally, one day we will go to that level also.
Okay, fine. So at least we should try to see the good.
Also, there is that example of his divine Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur. He would bring these two persons in front and ask for good qualities. Some good qualities there are.
Yes. It would be a great struggle to see the good qualities in the other person. One is envious. One sees only bad qualities. But still, yes, one can at least try. Yes. Some other ways? Correct. Yes, good. Yes, so if one is satisfied with what the Lord has given one, so Lord has given me something, has given him something, be satisfied. If one is not satisfied, then there's envy. Some other ways to get rid of envy?
That another Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur says that because of envy or whatever, we see the faults in others. So we should understand we are honeycomb with the faults. So those statements will help us.
Right. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur said that when I see faults in others, I am honeycombed by those faults. So he told the example of, or the story of, yes, the needle and the sieve, chalni. So the needle is laughing at the sieve. Hey, you have so many holes. No, the other way around. The sieve is laughing at the needle. Oh, you have a hole. He doesn't understand that he is filled with holes. So yes, so one has to understand the reality. Okay, some other ways how to get rid of envy. Okay, coming to the performing devotion service. Okay, fine. What else? Correct. Yes, good point. So yes, every aspect of the morning program, especially the chanting of the holy names, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, all these are powerful ways of purification, to purify ourselves from the various anarthas. So therefore, this is the medicine. Enechi aushadi. This is the aushadi, this is the medicine for all these anarthas. So the important thing is we should allow the medicine to go inside. The medicine has to go inside. The medicine of the holy name, the medicine of the Srimad Bhagavatam has to go inside. Pravishta karna randhrena swanam bhavasaroruham dhunoti shamalam krishna salilasya yathasharat. So the medicine has to go inside. So therefore, if we don't allow the medicine to go inside, we may keep on chanting and superficially hearing. But if we are not attentive then the medicine will not work. Then years may pass, but there will not be transformation because the medicine has not gone inside. And therefore, great emphasis is laid on hearing. The medicine has to go inside. Pravishta kannarandrena. So therefore, one has to absorb oneself in the hearing. So if one does not do that, then not much transformation. So all these are important ways. So I'll give you two references, very important purpose. You may have read them before, but still you can read them. So one is 7th canto, 5th chapter, 12th verse. So that's a very important verse in this connection. 7, 5, 12. And another one is 10th canto, 13th chapter, text 60. 10, 13, 1, 3, 6, 0. 6, 0 or 6, 1? Anyway, you can look at it. 60, I suppose. Correct, that one. Okay, 60. Okay.
So we can ask the question. Vasudev Krishna Guru.
It was not the question. I just wanted to add the point about envy. Sometimes we like we can't see good qualities in others, but we can approach someone who is dear to him or who is near, like who knows him more better. And if we go and talk to him, then he can help us to get better understanding of that devotee. So that can help also.
Yes, good. Yes, good point. Yes. So we may not be able to see some good qualities, but we can approach someone who is able to appreciate. Yes, that's correct. Thank you. Okay, fine. So, so Prabhupada is writing here, devotee of the Lord is never envious. As revealed later, Dhritarashtra was also a devotee, therefore he was not expected to be envious of the demigods. Indeed, of his own accord, he would try to benefit the demigods. A devotee does not hesitate to give up his own body for a better cause. Chanakya Pandit said, San nimitte varam tyago vinashe niyate sati. After all one's material possessions, including his body, will be destroyed in due course of time. Therefore, if the body and other possessions can be utilized for a better cause, a devotee never hesitates to give up even his own body. Because Lord Vishnu wanted to save the demigods, Dhritarashtra, even though able to swallow the 3 worlds, would agree to be killed by the demigods. For a devotee, there is no difference between living and dying. Because in this life, a devotee engages in devotional service, and after giving up his body, he engages in the same service in the spiritual world. His devotional service is never hindered. The means and the ends are the same. So one practices devotional service now, and what one achieves? Devotional service. Thus, in the Bhagavad purports to the 9th chapter, 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Appearance of the Demon Dhritarashtra. Chapter 10, the battle between the demons and Devatas. Okay.
Cases it appears that in that the case of Hiranyakshara and Kashyapa, they also went to Brahmaji. Any subtle points in that? In any case, they are approaching. Other than this case, they are directly the Lord. Sometimes.
Even in the Samudra Manthan Leela, they pray to the Lord, right? There also the Lord appears in front of them and tells them the solution.
Correct.
So, so in this case, I think so it is based upon the intensity of the problem. So obviously here Vritranasura was so huge and he was swallowing all of the weapons and all of them. So obviously they understood that even Brahma, he cannot do anything. So that's my understanding. Most probably when they feel that a problem can be addressed by Brahma, then they go to him. If they feel it is difficult even for Brahma, then they approach Supreme Lord.
He gave solution, but he did not follow, or he went against. So maybe they were fearful to.
Possible. Okay, they already went to Brahma. Brahma gave solution, but then Indra cut off the heads. So obviously they're embarrassed to go again. Possible. Yes, that's also correct. Okay, let's go ahead. Chapter 10. Sri Shukdev Goswami said, after instructing Indra in this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari, the cause of the cosmic manifestation, then and there disappeared from the presence of the onlooking demigods. Okay, continue.
Sri Sukdev Goswami said,
Done. Next.
O King Parikshit, following the Lord's instruction, the demigods approached Dadichi, the son of the Atharva. He was very liberal, and when they begged him to give them his body, he at once partially agreed. However, just to hear religious instruction from them, he smiled and jokingly spoke as follows.
Okay, so they went to Dadichi and they asked him for his body. Is it something easy? Asking for the very life of a person. But they went and asked because the Lord instructed. But then Dadichi is also sort of testing the devatas. And so he says some important things. Okay, text 3. Api vrindarakayuyam na janita sharirinam samsthayam yastva abhidroho dussahaschetanapaha.
O elated demigods, at the time of the death, severe unbearable pains takes away the consciousness of all living entities who have accepted material bodies. Don't you know about this pain?
The Rishi is telling her, you don't know how much pain there is to give up the body? You're asking me to give up the body? You don't understand? There is so much pain. So we know there's a lot of pain. Of course, mostly the pain is due to what? Yes, attachments. So to the degree there's attachment, then one is being stripped away from all attachment. So that causes great pain. Text 4. Jijivishunam jivanam atma preshta ihepsitaha ka utsaheta tam datum bhikshamanaya vishnave.
In this material world, every living entity is very much addicted to his material body, struggling to keep his body favor. Everyone try to protect it by all means, even at the sacrifice of all his possessions. Therefore, who would be prepared to deliver his body to anyone, even if it were demanded by Lord Vishnu?
So Dadiji is saying, everyone is attached to the body. How can I give up my body, even if Lord Vishnu has demanded? So this is Preshta, Atma Preshta Iha. So the body, here in this case, Atma is the body. The body is dear to everyone. Prabhupada gives the example of even an ant. If an ant is moving, you try to stop the ant, what the ant will do? He'll go somewhere, another direction, somehow trying to save himself. So that is common for every living entity. Of course, Srila Prabhupada explains why the body is most dear. Yes, because the soul is present, therefore the body is most dear. Because if the soul is not present, then even if it's body of father, mother, whoever, once the soul is gone, finished, then nobody wants to keep the body. So the main cause of why the body is so dear is because the soul is present. So therefore, actual love is for soul, but soul is part and parcel of Krishna. So therefore, actual love is for? Yes, for Krishna. So that is how even logically one can understand that actually one has love for Krishna. So in any case, so he's saying that the body is very dear. So how can one give up the body? Purport, it is said, Atmanam sarvato rakshe tato dharmam tato dhanam. One must protect his body by all means. Then he may protect his religious principles and thereafter his possessions. This is the natural desire of all living entities. No one wants to give his body unless it is forcibly given away. Even though demigods said that they were demanding Dadiji's body for their benefit in accordance with the order of Lord Vishnu, Dadiji superficially refused. So he was just testing them. He superficially refused to give up the body. So this was what Dadiji said. How you expect me to give up my body? So much of pain is there. So then what the Devas say? Shri Deva Uchu Kimno Tadyustajam Brahman Pumsam Bhutanu Kampinam Bhavat Vidanam Mahatam Punya Shloketya Karmanam.
The demigod replied, O exalted Brahman, pious person like you, whose activities are
praiseworthy,
are very kind and affectionate to people in general. What can such pious souls give for the benefit of others? They can give everything, including their bodies.
So the Devatas are also quite smart. So they are saying, oh, you're so pious. Brahman, oh exalted Brahmana. So because you're so pious, so therefore, even though it is difficult, dustejam, but still, you are bhuta anukampinam. You are very affectionate, sympathetic towards all living entities. And so we are suffering so much. You please help us. So they are trying to flatter him. They're trying to flatter him. So they're saying, Punya shloka idya karmanam. So pious people like you, you'll be praised by everyone. So if you give up your body, you'll get so much of reputation. Text 6. Nunam swartho paro loko na veda parasankatam yadi vedana yacheta neti naha yadishvaraha.
Those who are too self-interested beg something from others, not knowing of others' pain. But if the beggar knew the difficulty of giving of the giver, he would not ask for anything. Similarly, he who is able to give charity does not know the beggar's difficulty. For otherwise, he would not refuse to give the beggar anything he might want as charity.
Okay, so Devatas are speaking some good philosophy here. Just to get what they want. So they are saying, see, we are beggars, so you should understand our difficulty. So if one is self-interested, swartha, nonam swartha paro loko, na veda parasankatam. So if one is swarthi, he doesn't understand the sankat, the difficulty of the other person, the beggar. But at the same time, the one who is begging may not understand the difficulty of the one who has to give. So therefore Prabhupada says this verse describes two people, one who gives charity and one who begs for it. Beggar should not ask charity from a person who's in difficulty. So beggar asks someone who's in difficulty what he can give. Similarly, one who's able to give charity should not deny a beggar. So that means both parties should understand each other's difficulty. These are the moral instructions of the Shastra. Chanakya Pandit says, again, same verse he quotes, San nimitte varam tyago vinashe niyate sati. Everything within this material world will be destroyed, and therefore one should use everything for good purposes. If one is advanced in knowledge, he must always be prepared to sacrifice anything for a better cause. At the present moment, the entire world is in a dangerous position of the spell of a godless civilization. The Krishna consciousness movement needs many exalted, learned persons who will sacrifice their lives to revive God consciousness throughout the world. We therefore invite all men and women advanced in knowledge to join the Krishna consciousness movement and sacrifice their lives for the great cause of reviving the God consciousness of human society. Prabhupada is appealing to all people to sacrifice their lives for a good cause, to revive Krishna consciousness. So in this way, the Devatas told Dadichi, please understand our difficulty. You should try to understand. So now what Dadichi Rishi said, this is important. Shri Rishi Ruvacha dharmam va shrotu kamena yoyam me pratyudharita eshava priyam atmanam tyajantam santyajamyaham.
The great sage Dadichi said, just hear from you about religious principles. I refuse to offer my body at your request. Now, although my body is extremely dear to me, I must give it up for your better purpose, since I know that it will leave me today or tomorrow.
Yes, so he just spoke, he was testing the devatas and wanting to hear some good instructions from them. But then when they spoke, then finally Dadiji says, yes, even though body is extremely dear, but still I'll give it up. Why? Because va priyam atmanam tyajantam santyajami aham. So this body today or tomorrow, I'll have to give it up. Correct? Everyone has to give up the body today or tomorrow. Not eternal. So therefore, next verse. Yo dhruvinatmana natha na dharmam na yasha puman iheta bhuta dayayar sa shocha sthavarerapi.
O demigods, one who has no compassion for humanity in its suffering and does not sacrifice his impermanent body for the higher cause of religious principles or eternal glory is certainly pitied even by the immovable beings.
Yeah, so Dadiji Rishi is saying that somebody who especially is talking about Puman, human beings. So human beings, if they do not sacrifice their body for religious principles, dharmam, yaha adhruvena atmana, this body is what? Adhruva, it is not permanent. So if one does not sacrifice this body for the sake of dharma, na yasha puman, he will not get yasha. He will never be famous. He will never be glorified if one does not use the body for the sake of dharma, but rather for the bhuta dayaya, for showing mercy to other living entities. Then saha, that person, shochas thavarer api. Even the immovable beings like the trees will pity such a human being. So even the trees will think, at least we are more merciful than these human beings. Because trees also sacrifice everything for others. Correct? Trees are sacrificing their flowers, fruits, branches, wood, everything. And even when the tree is cut, still it continues to give shade. So even the trees are giving everything, sacrificing their body for others. So if human beings don't do that, human beings who are more advanced in consciousness, if they don't sacrifice, then even the trees will laugh at the human beings. That is what I mean. Shocha, they will pity. What type of human being? Because what is the main prerogative of the human being? Higher consciousness. Then higher consciousness means he should use the body for better purposes rather than simply using for material sense gratification. So therefore in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is talking about the six Goswamis. He's quoting this verse from the 11th canto, which yesterday our Ajay Gaurang Prabhu was quoting and discussing. So Prabhupada, after this verse, he says, to accept sannyas means to commit civil suicide, but sannyas is compulsory at least for every brahmana, every first-class human being. And then he's describing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sannyas. He had so many comforts, but still he gave up. Then he's describing about the six Goswamis, Tyaktva tu namashesh mandalapati shrenim sada tuchchavat bhutva dina ganesh kau karunaya kaupin kantashrathau. So This is about the six Goswamis. And then he says, similarly, everyone else with a materially comfortable condition in this world should join the Krishna consciousness movement to elevate the fallen souls. The words Bhutadaya, Maya, Mrigam, Dayatiyepsitam, and Dina Ganeshakau Karunaya all convey the same sense. These are very significant words for those interested in elevating human society to a proper understanding of life. One should join the Krishna consciousness movement following the examples of such great personalities as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the six Goswamis, and before them the great sage Dadichi. Instead of wasting one's life for temporary bodily comforts, one should always be prepared to give up one's life for better causes. After all, the body will be destroyed. Therefore, one should sacrifice it for the glory of distributing religious principles throughout the world. So Prabhupada is encouraging everyone to sacrifice one's life for distributing Krishna consciousness. Text 9. Etavanaviyo dharma punya shloke rupasitaha yo bhuta shoka harshabhyam atma shochati rushyati.
If one is unhappy to see the distress of other living beings and happy to see their happiness, his religious principles are appreciated as imperishable by exalted persons who are considered pious and benevolent.
So one is supposed to be paraduka duki and parasuka suki. So that is the perfection of religious principle. So in the purport, Prabhupada writes, in this verse, however, real religious principles are explained. Everyone should be unhappy to see others in distress and happy to see others happy. Atmavat sarva bhuteshu. One should feel the happiness and distress of others as his own. It is on this basis that the Buddhist religious principle of non-violence, ahimsa paramadharma, is established. So then Prabhupada speaks about not killing animals. Even Jesus Christ said, do not kill, but hypocrites nevertheless maintain thousands of slaughterhouses while posing as Christians. Such hypocrisy is condemned in this verse. Unfortunately, at the present moment, so-called philanthropists and humanitarians advocate the happiness of humanity at the cost of the lives of poor animals. That is not recommended herein. This verse clearly says that one should be compassionate to all living entities. Atmavat sarva bhuteshu. And then Prabhupada is quoting, Aham bija pradapita vidya vinaya sampanne. And towards the end of the purport, Prabhupada says, a Vaishnav therefore is truly a perfect person because he laments to see others unhappy and feels joy at seeing others happy. A Vaishnav is para dukkha dukhi. He is always unhappy to see the conditioned souls in an unhappy state of materialism. Therefore, a Vaishnav is always busy preaching Krishna consciousness throughout the world. So these are important verses to show the importance of compassion towards all living entities. Of course, Srila Prabhupada is the best example for this, and how Srila Prabhupada sacrificed his whole life simply for preaching Krishna consciousness, tirelessly. And then Dadichi Rishi is going on to say, Aho dainyam aho kashtam parakye kshana bhangure yanno pakuryad aswarther martya swagyati vigrahe.
This body, which is eatable by jackals and dogs after death, does not actually do any good for me, the spirit soul. It is usable only for a short time and may perish at any moment. The body and its possessions, its riches and relatives must all be engaged for the benefit of others, or else they will be sources of tribulation and misery.
Yes, so here he's saying, Aho dainyam, aho kashtam, parakye kshana bhangure. So he's saying this body is simply going to be food for others, parakye, food for dogs and jackals. So as Prabhupada explains in other places, the body has three destinations. What? Stool, ash, earth. So the body, if it's eaten by vultures and jackals, it's going to become stool. If it is burnt, it becomes ashes. And if it's buried, becomes earth. So that is the destination of the body. So therefore, it is kshana bangurei, perishable. So why one should not use the body for others' interest, not aswarthi, aswarthi. So it's not meant only for one's own self-interest. So therefore, understanding the temporary nature of this body, one should use the body for the benefit of others. As Krishna speaks this verse, right? Etavad janma safalyam dehinamiha dehishu praner arter diyamacha shreya acharanam sada. So there he is glorifying the trees, right? There he is glorifying the trees. Krishna is glorifying the trees of Vrindavan. How they are using everything for the benefit of others. And so therefore, one should use one's life. Prane, Rarthi, Diya, Vacha, whatever way possible. And then Prabhupada is also quoting Bharat Bhumite Hole Manusya Janmayar. Janma Sartha Kari Kara Paropakar. So the word Upakuryat in this verse means Paropakar, helping others. Of course, in human society, there are many institutions to help others, but because philanthropists do not know how to help others, the propensity for philanthropy is ineffectual. They do not know the ultimate goal of life, Shreya Acharanam, which is to please the Supreme Lord. If all philanthropic and humanitarian activities were directed towards achieving the ultimate goal of life to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they would all be perfect. Humanitarian work without Krishna is nothing. Krishna must be brought to the center of all our activities, otherwise no activity will have value. So that's very important. Krishna should be the center. Otherwise, the same point. So even in our preaching, if Krishna is not the center, how to please Krishna is not the center, then those activities will not have much value. One Shrutakiti Prabhu asked Srila Prabhupada, how can we do kirtan in such a way that people will be impressed or people will appreciate? Immediately Srila Prabhupada said, we are not doing kirtan for the public, we are doing kirtan for Krishna's pleasure. So if we perform our activities for Krishna's pleasure, then automatically people will be pleased. Correct? What is the analogy? Yes, watering the root of the tree. So therefore, that has to be our focus. Are my activities pleasing Krishna? That has to be the main focus. Then other people, other living entities also will be pleased. And that's the reason why Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas never compromised. Their main focus was how to please Krishna. When that is the focus, then others will be pleased. So we should not try to put ourselves in the center, how people will be attracted towards me. So I will speak in ways so that people will be attracted towards me, so that I get more followers, I get more reputation. Now, if I keep myself in the center, then people may be pleased, but Krishna will not be pleased. Then eventually people also will be displeased. This is all science. Therefore, everything has to be done in accordance to what the Acharyas have said, Acharyas' instructions. That is what will please Krishna. So therefore, we cannot concoct anything. So, previously in at least in one temple, they had even dressed Krishna as Santa Claus on Christmas. You heard that? You saw a photo. Why? Because public will be pleased. But what about the person who is dressed as Santa Claus? Is he pleased? So now, of course, GBC has passed resolutions. You cannot change the form of the deity. If Krishna wants, he will manifest another form. You don't have to change his form. But previously, all funny things were happening. Why? Oh, so that public will be pleased, so that more people will come. So in one temple, they are celebrating Valentine's Day, giving all facilities for young boys and girls to come. Of course, have Krishna Prasad, but then doing all funny advertisements and all that. So we can't be doing all funny things like this in the name of preaching. So okay, New Year celebration is okay as long as it's done in bona fide ways. But we cannot cross certain boundaries. Dressing the deities in tricolor. Independence Day, Republic Day. Can't do all these funny things. So, therefore, one has to see what the acharyas want. That is what will please Krishna. That's our main basis. That's what Prabhupada is very clearly saying. Krishna must be brought to the center of all our activities. Otherwise, no activity will have any value. That has to be the basis. What will please Krishna? Yes, Prabhu, you had something?
Recently, I was having this doubt. Where nowadays, many people invite devotees for kirtans and all those things. But while I was distributing books, also one person was shouting at me, "You people charge 20 to 30,000 for kirtan. No, for kirtan, devotees charge money. Charge money. They do kirtans and I also at one place they also asked me to send people. They will pay some money. So then later I came to know that there are kirtaniyas who charge money and do kirtan. So I had this doubt. Now definitely devotees may also want to sustain their lives, but through kirtan, so then I know I did not send any. I had contacts, but I did not give any contacts. But I was thinking, and it has become a culture. Many are doing like that. So I wanted to know the standards and.
What was it? I'm just thinking of a reference. In Dhruva Maharaj's section, somebody go to the 12th chapter of the 4th canto. Okay. Okay. Go to a 4th canto, 12th chapter, text 49 and 50. This is the Falashruti. after the Dhruva Maharaj pastime. Persons who have completely taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord should recite this narration of Dhruva Maharaj without taking remuneration. Specifically, recitation is recommended on the full moon, on the dark moon night, on the day of Ekadashi, all that. Okay, but this is the important point, without remuneration. And the last sentence, when recitation is performed this way without professional motive, the reciter and the audience become perfect. And Prabhupada writes, professional reciters may ask money to extinguish the blazing fire within their bellies. But they cannot make any spiritual improvement or become perfect. It is therefore strictly forbidden to recite Srimad Bhagavatam as a profession to earn a livelihood. Only one who is completely surrendered at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, depending fully on Him for personal maintenance or even for the maintenance of his family, can attain perfection by recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is full of narrations of the pastimes of the Lord and his devotees. The process can be summarized as follows. The audience must be faithfully receptive to the Bhagavat message, and the reciter should completely depend on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagavat recitation must not be a business. If done in the right way, not only does the reciter achieve perfect satisfaction, but the Lord also is very satisfied with the reciter and the audience, and thus both are liberated from material bondage simply by the process of hearing. This is the standard. If one wants to follow the standard, this is the benefit. If one doesn't follow, what to do? But this is the standard. It applies for Bhagavatam recitation, Kirtan, or whatever. It cannot be a business to earn one's livelihood. Okay, people give dakshina, that's a different thing. But it cannot be used as a means for livelihood. Blazing fire in the bellies. That cannot be the motive. Srila Prabhupada gave how many Bhagavatam classes? How many kirtans did Prabhupada lead? Did he charge anything? Prabhupada could have made millions of dollars, right? Did he do that? No. This is our standard. This is our standard. This cannot be used as profession. So one can do any other profession and do business, but this cannot be business. Bhagavatam, Kirtan, this cannot be business. Very clear, you see this. This is the standard. One doesn't want to follow, what can be done? But then, if one follows the standard, then both will get the benefit. Very clear. Therefore, people have to read Prabhupada purports very nicely. Everything is there. All instructions are there in Prabhupada's purports. People don't read, that is a big problem. If they don't read, then they'll speculate, then they will justify. Everything is possible. But you read, then you understand. Such clear instructions. Okay. So where did this point come up? Oh, right. Yes. Correct. So that has to be the standard. What will please Krishna? Yes. So in all our activities, Prabhupada is saying, Krishna must be brought to the center of all our activities. All our activities means all our activities. From morning to night, whatever we are doing, whether it is chanting the holy names, whether it is deity worship, whether it is book distribution, whether it is kirtans, or whether it is preaching or anything, all our activities, the goal is what? Samsiddhir Haritoshnam. That is the goal. And that is what we have to see. So how will we understand how to please Krishna? Yes, through the acharyas. There's no other way to understand how to please Krishna. So therefore we have to understand from the acharyas. And specifically for us, we have to understand through Srila Prabhupada. He's the founder acharya. We have to understand through him. And recently there was an NIDC Brahmachari meet, just like you had here in Vada. So recently NIDC had in Kurukshetra. So there they brought up this subject matter. And so therefore, then one of the speakers, he made this point. He highlighted this book named as there's one book on Srila Prabhupada's instructions. Shikshamrits. Yes, that's right. So Srila Prabhupada Shikshamrit is there in the Veda base. So where Prabhupada's instructions on every topic wise they have made Prabhupada's instructions for every aspect of devotion. So Prabhupada has given instructions for everything practically. So we need to read that and see what are Prabhupada's instructions. Whatever service we are doing, Prabhupada has given instructions for everything. There are Prabhupada's instructions. So we need to read them. If we don't read, we'll speculate. But we cannot please Krishna then. So therefore, we need to find out. That should be our basis. Okay? So in this way, so Dadichi Rishi, he agreed to give up his body because he said, body is anyways temporary. Lord Vishnu wants me to give it up. Well, fine, take it. Okay? So in this way. Okay, one more translation, read.
Sri Shukdev Goswami said, Dadichi Muni, the son of Atharva, thus resolved to give his body to the service of the demigods. He placed himself, the spirit soul, at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and in this way gave up his gross material body made of 5 elements.
Okay, so in this way, Dadichi Rishi gave up his gross body. So Prabhupada is referring to Dhritarashtra leaving the body from the first canto. Okay, how he gave up the body, analytically divided his gross body. Okay, all that. So, and then Prabhupada says, the example given in this connection is that when an earthen pot is broken, the small portion of the sky within the pot is united with the large sky outside the pot. This is Gatakash Patakash. So Mayavadi philosophers understand this description of Srimad Bhagavatam, misunderstand this description. Therefore, Sri Ramaju Swami in his book Vedanta Tattvasara has described that this merging of the soul means that after separating himself from the material body made of 8 elements, earth, water, fire, ether, false ego, mind, and intelligence, individual soul engages himself in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his eternal form. So it's not that the soul merges into the Parabrahman. So soul always remains Jivara Swarupoi Krishnera Nitya Das. So text 12. Dadichi Muni controlled his senses, life force, mind, and intelligence and being absorbed in trance. Thus he cut all his material bonds. He could not perceive how his material body became separated from his self. Antakale chamameva smaran. So in this way he gave up the body. And text 13 to 14. Thereafter King Indra very firmly took up the thunderbolt manufactured by Vishwakarma from the bones of Dadichi. Charged with the exalted power of Dadichi Muni and enlightened by the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Indra rode on the back of his carrier Airavat, surrounded by all the demigods, while all the great sages offered him praise. And thus he shone very beautifully, pleasing the 3 worlds as he rode off to kill Vritrasur. Then the rest of the chapter is this battle that takes place between the Devatas and the Asuras, and then the killing of Vritrasura and Vritrasu's teachings. So we'll continue our discussions tomorrow. So tomorrow is Ekadashi. So what timing should we have the class? So how early? Okay, so 10 to 12:30, is it okay? ठीक है? I think so. Kunjibari devotees. हाँ? आ जाएंगे? प्रसाद तो नहीं है ना सुबह? आ सकते हैं ना? ठीक है, 10 to 12:30? Okay, fine. So tomorrow 10 to 12:30. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granthraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samved Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.